All right, miners, we're here with our very special friend, Mr. Yeti, tech coding guru, the one who still hasn't started a YouTube channel, even though I think it would be very, very popular amongst the community. Um, he's shaking it. He's shaking his head right now. But how you doing, buddy? How you doing, Yeti?
Yeah, thank you. Yourself, how are you doing? You recovered from all the networking yet?
No, I need to take a nap, dude. The funny thing is, I had those days off from my dad for a couple days, but we just spent it doing all the networking. So
Yeah, I
did
know, right?
I didn't really get a chance to relax. Really, it wasn't really a vacation. It was like just work. It was worth it. So
Welcome to my world.
thank you for doing the collab video with me and giving me your expertise on this.
That's right.
I did a video on this coin, and I mean, I'm going to be honest. A lot of new coins are garbage, right? We don't know if they're going to go anywhere. I'm not like endorsing this coin. I'm just saying that what should we look for when we're looking at new coins before we start like downloading wallets, right? Because these things can have all kinds of things in them. Especially since we
Absolutely.
we we learned from Cow about how it would go into your wallet and essentially steal your crypto. So there's definitely things that could be malicious, you know what I mean? Because essentially you're kind of trusting the person who coded this, right, to be honest and trustworthy, which it's not
Well,
a
and
yeah, right. So you don't I mean anybody can do this. So I mean you're putting your faith into somebody else's hands kind of a little bit.
yeah, and I mean that cow one that I found the problem with. I mean, that could have been as simple as a bad bit of code, right? That might not have been malicious at all. It could have just been a sole, you know, bug in the system, but that's a pretty bad bug.
Right, yeah,
Like,
because
really bad.
because right now people's other crypto from their core wallets are now missing, and like, what is this project going to do? Are they going to reimburse the people, right? So, do you
Yeah.
recommend people having like a mini PC or like a server to have VMs to be able to isolate their core wallets?
Well, that's something that, me and you have discussed at quite great length and very recently. Like, you know my view, I have all my core wallets on an isolated VM that's on an isolated VLAN. I mean, I'm one of the more paranoid people, but I mean, I go probably a little bit further than you really have to, but just isolating it at least on its own VM if you're worried about it is a very sensible idea.
Let's get into this project here. So, Labyrinth is a decentralized escrow platform, right? They plan on like having the use case with Bitcoin and Zcash and Monero.
For anyone who doesn't know what an escrow site is, so there's a couple of different choices with escrow. So, for example, I use escrow services when I do coding. So the customer can know 100% that the code is real. Um, Generally, it's just a company that will hold on to something until such time as the item or piece of code or whatever the escrow service is there for um, is finalized and signed off on. Then, once that's been signed off on, then the escrow service will release the funds in question. So
Okay.
the best example for that in a crypto environment would be Dream's escrow service.
This is so this could be, like people putting their trust in this company essentially, right? Or crypt or this program. And that's a lot of trust you're asking people to like send your crypto there and have them hold it and be responsible for payments, right? So
Yeah,
being a little leery already, but when you're looking at a new project and before we start hitting the download button, right, and downloading wallets, what are some of the steps that people could do without even having like coding experience, right? What would you recommend to them?
sure. Couple of things that I always look for, right? So one, the company in question, right? Does it have a contact address that's actually a physical address that you can get hold of someone? Not just an email or Discord. Is there a physical address or a company identification number? Yeah.
So here we don't have anything, right? I mean, we have a copyright of Labyrinth, but we don't have anything
That
besides
basically means
Discord.
it's covered by its own website. I mean, the fact that they have a GitHub available so you can look through the source code. We'll get onto that bit in a minute. They've also got a public Discord, which is always good to see that they're willing to interact with, their user base. And also they've got a block explorer. You'd be surprised how many new coins don't open up with a block explorer. It's quite surprising, actually.
Is that kind of a red flag immediately if they don't offer a block explorer?
Not immediately, but why wouldn't you when there is freely available block explorers that you can just download, put your coin credentials in, and it instantly just work?
Right. So it's pretty easy to
So,
use, and it doesn't take that long to get working,
no.
essentially.
Yeah.
So if you go to the bottom of the Run on Flux.io webpage here, you will see down here their copyright. But with that, you will see this company name, the Keros Collective Incorporated, which is essentially going to be the Flux company, right? That's their
Yes.
company name. Now let's go check out maybe Meowcoin, right? Everyone loves Litterbox, all right? Now, they have great pictures on here, right? And high quality res photos, I get it. But if you come down to the bottom here, there's nothing but the GitHub, the Discord, and the Twitter, right? And I'm in the About Us section. And even if you come over here to the main website, it doesn't change. There's no real way to get a hold of whoever runs this coin, right? I don't know if it's a single guy.
Another popular one that we could quickly just check, King, is Neoxa. Another one that's recently, piqued a lot of interest.
They've revamped their website recently. It looks really good. And look, they even have Harvey and Andy, co-founders. They just says the Neoxa Network. That's all they got down here.
Now, that might be that they're still in the phase of rolling out their new website. That's not uncommon with brand new websites that have just been released. And I know Neoxa has just, like you say, been overhauling their website quite a large portion to try and build that what we were just talking about, that lack of worry with people wanting to invest with them.
Right.
The more transparent you are on your website, the more likely are that people will want to use your site.
It's not a total huge red flag because obviously we've seen other projects, newer projects, not do the same as well. What would be the next piece that you'd want to investigate, Yeti?
Whether or not it has a white paper, first and foremost. Like, if it hasn't got a white paper and a use case, well, what's the point in the first place?
I don't.
Because,
They do.
if they don't have a white paper, then how are you going to know if what they're doing is actually true to their word?
The only thing that they have on here is a timeline.
Right. Well, I suppose at least they've got a timeline. You'd be surprised how many I've looked at that don't even have a timeline.
Right. So
Um,
there's at least
but
some direction, right?
there is at least some direction. I would love to see a white paper, though, to see what they're implementing, how they're implementing it, that kind of thing. Because that's what a white paper is there for, is to explain it in a bit more technical depth so that people like myself can go along, read it, understand it, and then make a proper conclusion about it.
There's not a whole lot to look at here, but I'll let Yeti take this over. And
So, I mean, the easiest way to, like, you're looking at block numbers, right? And the transactions in those blocks, how much that was worth. And, if you've seen one block explorer, you've seen all
right,
of the different types, because even though there's plenty of different block explorers out there that you can use, they all show the same information. The bit that's important is, are the block time and the block heights moving, or has it
right.
stalled out? The best bit is that from what I'm seeing on here, at least the blocks are moving.
Okay, yeah. So just kind of get in here, make sure things are moving, make sure this isn't like the last blocks from like a week ago, you know what I mean? And it hasn't done anything, essentially. So we're seeing
Yeah.
the blocks move. This is almost the current time right now as of recording. It's like I think like 1 minute behind. So, but you could see that it did auto update as we were talking just now with each other. So, what would be the next area that we'd want to go visit, Yeti?
I guess we should look at the code then.
All right, so we need to go to the GitHub then and look at
Yep.
the actual code.
Now, obviously, I'm not going to go too deep into this because for you to be able to deep dive code, you need to obviously have a very good understanding of the code,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And, you know, I know enough in the code to be able to see patterns, but I've never built a Qt wallet from scratch. So
Okay.
there's still an element of that I could even miss something.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like I spend probably a little bit more time than most deep diving code. So I can understand those patterns to look for, but the basic bits that I would look for is the GitHub up to date? So you can see there that the last update was 13 days ago. Now, this is a fairly new site, right? So
Right.
their GitHub is bound to be fairly new, shall we
Right.
say.
Yep.
But if you go and look at, say, take for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum's um, GitHub, there are daily updates to it,
They have a
like
lot
daily.
they have a lot going on in their stuff.
Up until quite recently, Ravencoin hadn't put out an update in 2 years, to give you an idea. If you look, right, so inside of the source folder, in the SRC folder, there is these files and folders, right? The first one that I generally go and look at is either Qt or a wallet folder. Now, if you go up, you'll see there is a wallet folder. And this is all the hard files that are to do with the wallet.
Is there any like how these are shortly abbreviated? Would this concern you because this
So
is
a .cpp file is C++, which
okay?
is just another coding language. And a .h is associated with the CPP file for when you compile it into an actual application.
Okay.
So that's all normal. Um, let's have a look
Mm.
down a little bit and we'll see what files there are. So that load.h and load.cpp are probably more than likely the initial load files that load into the active RAM. So why don't we take a look through those two files? You can see there that at the top they've left all the copyrights in, which is always good and nice to see because no coder should ever, um, steal anyone else's code. With at least, if you're going to use open source code, then at least give the credit where credit is due. I can show you all my code, and anytime I use anything that's open source, I leave all the copyright stuff in there. I mean, it's a legal requirement here in the UK as well, but even before it was a legal requirement, I would always leave that in there. Um, the other thing that rings, a good sign to me is a programmer who will go through and notate inside their code, so that if anyone else picks it up later, then obviously they they will know what's what and what it's for. Is that their coder or is that the code notations from the original Qt wallet makers?
Right.
Unfortunately, you will struggle to find that bit out unless you go through all the different variants of wallet that have been generated through it,
Right. And in case you guys don't know, because not everybody's familiar with coding, right? But I've been learning some from Yeti. But when he's talking about the code notations, what he's talking about is these double forward slashes right here. Whenever you
Yeah,
see this right
open them up
here,
in the program, a lot of the time they will be green,
right?
which is just a notation inside of the code. See, and there's one big line there that's a good one to look at. Line 38. So global arguments, so that's what a G args. means global arguments, force setting argument, wallet directory. And that will basically use the wallet directory that it is running inside of. And then obviously it verifies your wallet, and then you can see all the different options that it uses inside of the wallet, as well as obviously any external file that can also be called for wallet configuration files. So you can see there that there's actually a duplicate wallet checksum in there, which is always a good idea, because you don't want to be running any two of the same core wallets at the same time from the same location, because then you can get double spend problems and like not synchronized wallets.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that one. Yeah, double spend. Yeah, because
So I mean, the fact that this code looks clean, it's well presented, there's notations. I mean that bodes well for the code of the wallet,
that's
you know.
the kind of thing that we run into with crypto mining, right? Is we're putting our trust into these people, right, and these projects, and it's really
Yeah.
hard to like know if they're being legitimate or not because yeah, it looks like a cool project, but man, you don't know if this person is being devious or not, right? You don't know anybody's intentions, but it's best to try to do some homework. I know everybody doesn't understand code. I understand this a little bit because I know some code, but I don't know C++ plus plus like, directly, but I understand some of the if statements in here from other codes. We're not going to get too deep into the actual coding part, but seeing that there's notations and that the form of the code is formed very well and clean and it's easy to read, I would Yeti says that that's a good sign, right? So
Yeah. Without deep diving it for, the next 12 hours going through it, every single file, I can't be 100% sure, but I mean, it's certainly a good start and a good sign from a
okay.
code perspective.
The next thing I think that we were going to talk or go into was going to be Wireshark, right?
Okay.
Look at this. Look
Okay.
at
We'll
this.
save the best and the most brutal for last, yeah?
We're over here in my ESXi, and I'm in my VM. Now, I did decide to use Windows because their Ubuntu was for Unix, but I couldn't get it to work with any of my distros that I had. And I have several distros. I have Manjaro, Xubuntu, like three other ones I tried. I tried all these other variances of Linux and I couldn't get it to work. So I went with Windows just to make sure that the wallet even loads. And it does work. And so this is what I've mined. It hasn't been quite a day yet. And when me and Yetis first started talking, this was actually at like 146. So it actually has gone up since we've been recording this. So
Yeah.
the first bit of stuff that we're going to have to download to the VM is going to be Wireshark.org. Now, while we download this, Yeti, why don't you tell people maybe not everything that Wireshark does, but what are we using Wireshark for
Okay, the
today?
basics then.
Yeah.
The basics of Wireshark allows you to inspect all the traffic in and out of your network card or a specific program. And that's where it comes in really handy, because what we can do is we can test both. Depending on your level of skill, this will either be scary or the biggest headache of your life. Um, I'm familiar enough with it that I can see the patterns. And I was explaining to you this, off camera. Wireshark is not the easiest to understand, but once you start getting the understanding and see the patterns and why those patterns happen, you will get it a little bit easier.
Right, yeah, so not everybody will be able to follow or understand. We're going to try our best to explain what we can to
I
you.
mean, an alternative to this would be a PF Sense box.
Okay. That way you can see the traffic, right?
Yeah, because PF Sense is effectively doing the exact same thing that Wireshark is just doing. The only difference is PF Sense is a piece of hardware and Wireshark isn't. Wireshark is purely software.
Right.
Although I believe you can run PF Sense just as a software. but it's still fundamentally going to be running it like a hardware application.
Okay, so we're done downloading. We have Wireshark in our programs here on the VM. We're going to open this thing up. And then Yeti's going to give us some kind of instruction here.
Okay, so the first thing we want to do, right, is we want to tell it to capture on Ethernet 0.
So
So you can see that it's picking up your interface, and then you can
okay,
just
yep.
right click and start capture.
Okay, there we go. Now we're capturing all the bit of traffic that's coming in and out of this. Wow, there's a lot of traffic going out.
And there will be. That's the thing, right? So
And that's
when you're
because
when you're
we
connected to a network, oh no, you got normal network-based traffic there, like broadcast, for example. You can see your Draytech, for
okay,
example, is sending an ARP request. Well, that's just to ask if you're online or not. And then
okay,
you've got, things like, um, you know, so anything from a source of 10
right, is
or the
my
word Graytech or the word VMware is all going to be your local network,
okay,
right? But all of this looks normal traffic.
okay. Is there anything like colors? Like, what about that?
So, right. So the red ones, right? If you
Right,
scroll over, you'll see that it says that that is more than likely just a dropped packet.
okay,
Now, black ones are the ones that I always look for, right? So that says, right, a TCP duplication attack, right? Or ACK. Right. Now
okay,
that could be number of things. That could be a drop packet bouncing and retrying. That could be a sync flood from a DDoS.
okay,
That could be badly coded code in a program not working properly. But you know, if you're only seeing one every now and again, that's probably not anything to worry about. If you're seeing hundreds of them back to back, then well, that's a very different story, right? So when we did the LHR unlock with me, Chum, and Panda that day, um, that list was filled with chunks of black with red text,
okay.
and
So we got quite
that
a
was
bit
very
here, but just a short
yeah,
little
but you say that, but it's only a very short burst.
right.
This, what we were seeing with that LHR unlocker was, or that wasn't an LHR unlocker at the time, was just absolutely going nuts. And that's very different. So you can see that there is still plenty of headroom on your um, network adapter, because otherwise it would be throwing a massive fit right now, because you've been running it for what, a couple of minutes now. So that just means that a TCP port was in use when that was trying to be scanned.
Okay. So from the Wireshark, from this perspective, does anything look like that it shouldn't be doing anything that it's doing right now?
Right now, no. Usually though, if you were doing a proper deep dive, you'd probably want to leave this running a good hour, save the
Okay.
log file, go back through it, take a good look at what it is and why it's doing it, where it's coming from. Because it could even be that you've got a device on your network, for example, being, highly used at the time. So it doesn't have the resources to deal with what it's trying to do.
Okay.
There are so many factors to work out um, before you say something is good or not good, right?
Right.
But when you see what you're seeing right now, there's nothing that really screams to me that I need to deep dive this further right now. So, but yeah, there's very little in the way that I would worry about. But it's just a lot of understanding network traffic is just looking for patterns.
Okay.
And the more you do it, the more those patterns stick out like a sore thumb. So if I was to infect that VM with a virus, for example, right? Now, I wouldn't do that, but obviously if we were doing it just to show you what it would look like, then that list would be absolutely different and you would notice a pattern instantly.
So you'd probably get
So,
more of the black lines inside of
oh
the.
yeah, a lot. You'd have a lot of error codes starting to throw up saying that there's no headroom on the network adapter. You might have a lot of bounce back messages saying unable to do this because of rate limiting. If you're connected to like a corporate network that has certain other things turned on, it could even throw back, um, reasons from their router, for example.
So Yeti, now that we spent some time on this, right, and we've deep dive kind of, I wouldn't say deep dive, but we went into it a little bit, right? Doing some verification stuff, looking at code, looking at the network traffic, right, when the wallet is actually on. Does it appear to be genuine, or is there anything, that's like making you think twice about it a little bit?
So looking at the traffic, the fact that they've got a block explorer to prove where those transactions are coming from. I mean, the website is a little sketchy, but we've seen some very sketchy websites for the first, iteration of their site, for example. So, Neoxa, for example, their website, their first version, wow, that was sketchy as. Their white paper had
Yeah.
what? About 100 words in it.
Yeah, and
But they're,
I think it was a copy from
you know,
Ravencoin.
yeah, I mean, they're now in the process of getting all of that sorted. They had bigger problems to deal with straight away than, dealing with their website. But they realized that very soon as they started getting more attention and momentum, that they had to reevaluate going back and doing their website, which they're doing now. And it looks a lot better. Could they still do more? Absolutely. But I'll give them the time they need to certainly get that done. This one, from all accounts, looking at the codes that I have looked at so far and the traffic, I would say at the moment, though, it's definitely, on the right path to a reputable coin and something that has a purpose out there, which is a lot more than can be said about a lot of coins.
So do you think though that this would be safe for people to put on their desktops? Because me and you are both advocates against that, or would you still recommend to people get another computer? Even I mean, you could go find old Optiplexes for like 20-40 bucks. You know what I mean, on your local
Yeah,
marketplace. You know what I
I
mean? It
mean,
it doesn't have to be a crazy
no,
second
no.
computer or anything like that.
I mean, hell, you know me, right? I'm one of the more paranoid of our group, right? I'm the paranoid one because then I keep everyone else safe, right? At the end of the day, it always pays to play it safe a little bit with QT wallets, right? Core wallets in general.
Anyways, guys, thanks Yeti. It's been awesome doing this video. I love working with Yeti and getting his analysis on these kinds of things, man. His skill level is just through the roof, and I appreciate him very much. So, all right, guys, this is the Money King giving you the most hashes, and I'll see you next time.